All right, folks, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Tuesday, November 27th, 2018, Mississippi. They're voting right now for the next United States Senator, battling Mike Espy versus Cindy Hyde-Smith. Last night, the orange one was in Mississippi, and he actually said, how does Mike Espy fit into Mississippi? Dude, he's from there. We'll explain to you, and we'll show you how Mike Espy responded to Donald Trump. Also, Senate Republicans trying to confirm a judge critics called the vote suppressor in chief for a North Carolina federal district court. He also wrote the voter suppression laws for North Carolina. Tomas Lopez for Democracy North Carolina will join us and explain to us why Thomas Barr is unfit to serve on the federal bench. Meanwhile, legislators in North Carolina are doing their best to rush through a voter suppression ID law. Folks, talk about stupid. Okay, I'm gonna explain to you how North Carolina Republicans are they are the Alabama and the Mississippi of the 21st century. Wait till you hear this. And also, right-wing violence is on the rise, much more than Islamic extremist violence. And a former black executive at Facebook wrote a blistering note to his colleagues, laying out why Facebook has a black problem inside and outside. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Polls in Mississippi, folks, are open just 2 more hours. Remember, if you are in line by 7 p.m. Central, you can still vote. We want you to stay in line and hold that line. Also, any problems you experience at the voting location, call this number, 1-866-OUR-VOTE, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. Also, if you are in need of a ride to the polls, you can also call 1-844-678-6837, 1-844-678-6837. We are seeing, of course, a battle between Republican incumbent Cindy Hyde-Smith, who was appointed to replace Thad Cochran, who retired because of health reasons. She is running against former Agricultural Secretary Mike Espy for this seat to fill out the last remaining 2 years of Thad Cochran's term. It is, of course, it has been a race. Republicans thought it was going to be a breeze, but when you have pretty much one of the dumbest candidates you've ever seen running for election, yes, I'm saying that for a reason, because when you look at her comments about public hanging, voter suppression, and how she won't even talk to the media, she's literally running out the back door at her own campaign events. Republicans are very concerned about Cindy Hyde-Smith losing this seat. Last night, Donald Trump was actually in Mississippi holding 2 rallies trying to gin up support for her. And he actually made a pretty dumb comment himself.
Cindy's far left opponent, he's far left. Oh, he's out there. How does he fit in with Mississippi? But I could go over this, but how does he fit in?
President Trump came to Mississippi yesterday and asked, how does he fit into Mississippi? Your response?
Because I didn't see that yesterday, but I did see that clip. He said, who is Mike Espy? Well, Mike Espy was a member of Congress from Mississippi 4 times. I was elected in 1986. I was the first black congressman since the Civil War. Mike Espy was Secretary of Agriculture. First Mississippi to ever hold that post, first black in the nation to ever hold that post. And my grandfather was Thomas Jefferson Huddleston Sr. He founded something called Afro-American Sons and Daughters. And in the 1930s, he was the wealthiest businessman in Mississippi. He formed a health insurance company. Well, really, it was more like a workman's comp insurance company now. Because when black folks went to work and got hurt, they just had to suffer. So he was able to form an insurance company to give them some recompense for their injuries. And then he decided that he was tired of our women having babies in the cotton field. So he founded a hospital and built it in 1924 in Mississippi. And I was born there in 1953. So when people think of Mike Espy, who is Mike Espy, they think about Thomas Jefferson Hudson Sr., my grandfather, whose legacy I inherited. So that's who I am. His blood runs in my veins. And then I was able to maybe chart my own course in elective office. Assistant Secretary of State, first black in Mississippi's history. Assistant Attorney General, head of the Consumer Protection Division. I believe I was first black in Mississippi's history. Member of Congress, first black in Mississippi's history. United States Secretary of Agriculture. And then in the last 20 years, I've been the chairman of the board, not paid, of a nonprofit that works in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, and Arkansas. What we do is we decide how can we lift the human capital of low-income people in those 5 states. And we do it by moving those who are in a rental situation to home ownership. So we have a series of...
Sounds like Mike Espy, Donald Trump belongs in Mississippi. Of course, Espy is hoping for a significant black turnout, what he called mammoth. In my interview with him yesterday on the Tom Jordan Morning Show, his goal is to get anywhere from 80 to 90% of the black vote, then of course pick about 25% of the white vote in order to beat Cindy Hyde-Smith. Of course, she has been dogged by numerous companies pulling their money as a result of her public hanging comment. The latest was Google, actually Facebook and Google. Now, frankly, it took them a hell of a long time to do it. Other folks were pulling their money last week. They waited until yesterday. And of course, this is also the same Cindy Hyde-Smith who took a photo with her wearing a Confederate hat saying Mississippi history at its best, posted on Facebook in 2014. Let's go to our panel right now and talk about this race here. Joining us, of course, Spencer Overton, President, Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. We also have Monique Presley. She is, of course, attorney, principal with the Presley Law Firm. And we also have Malik, who is from Mississippi. And I know he got lots to say about his homegirl, Cindy Hyde-Smith. Malik, did she make you proud?
I was happy to hear the comments, her apology last Tuesday. I had said when she first made the apology.
Oh, that an apology?
Yeah, I thought that was an apology in comparison to what she did when she initially came out. I thought the comments were full-throated, much more so than what they were initially. As far as the race is concerned, I can't imagine how Mike Espy wins in a state like Mississippi. If we consider what happened in Georgia, we consider what happened in Florida, the idea that Mississippi is somehow going to reverse itself and vote for him, I think is pretty slim. Thad Cochran won the race, I think, in 2014 by 20 points. Trump won it by 20 points.
Won by 20 points, but for Thad Cochran, first of all, 1.6 million people didn't even vote.
Right.
Thad Cochran won by 125,000 votes. And so I think it was about 300, I think total number of votes he got was like 340,000, something along those lines. You're going to have a lot more people who are going to be voting this time around. The issue that you have is that by all of her drama has driven lots of attention to Mike Espy. They only debated one time. They basically rigged that whole debate because she won at the Mississippi Farm Bureau, which already endorsed her. The top people in the Farm Bureau donated to her campaign. She didn't want a studio audience, and then also she walked in there literally with a Bible, with a King James Bible size stack of notepads. But what's been amazing is how she's been running. How she's been running away from everybody. She literally won't take questions from anybody. She's been running from the media. She's run out the back door of her own events. Even her own supporters going, okay, what happened? She left?
Yeah.
I mean, this is and Republicans are scared that she might lose. To seeing 100 paid staffers on the ground.
Yeah.
They were not planning on doing that.
But I don't think that has much to do with the actual data. I think what it is now, we're in a climate where this race has become racialized. So prior to...
Who racialized it?
Well, you can say that Cindy did. You can say that you disagree.
No, I mean, I'm saying, would you say she did? I mean,
Well,
I did.
I think that's when race entered the race when she made those comments. But again, I think if we go back to the idea that Mike Espy has been running since March, No one has paid attention to the race. We paid attention to Florida. We paid attention to Mississippi.
Oh, no.
I said on this panel.
We did.
We did. And I said on this panel, and I talked about Cindy Hyde-Smith becoming the first woman elected to Congress from Mississippi. Ronna McDaniel has talked about this. Trump has talked about this. As far as the Democratic Party and Mike Espy, I did not see them until now. And so I think this is
again, Mike Espy's strategy. I talked to Mike Espy, Monique, in Memphis for MLK 50. Mike Espy's strategy was not to focus on his race. His whole focus was to get into a runoff after November 6th. That was his whole deal. He said, once we get to a runoff, all the other races are done, then the attention is going to be on my particular race. It was only because of the Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams aftermath where that wasn't decided, where it wasn't immediately. But that was the case, and so that was Espy's strategy, not just. First of all, National Democrats weren't even looking at Mississippi. Espy said, no, we're going to run a quiet race. We're going to sit here and get first or second place, and then we're going to focus on the runoff.
And that was smart politics on his part, because trying to get in there when all the push was for Abrams, which was winnable, Gillum, which was winnable, compared to what he knows as a native son of Mississippi. He knows as a third generation Mississippian that it's a hard sell there, but it can be done. And I think it made sense for him to wait to try to garner all the support he could after he passed that initial hurdle when there was a field of like 4 Republicans.
3. It was 3 Republicans. At the end of the day, if he doesn't get in 1 or 2 places, there's no conversation. That's right. So his deal, he knew one person was not going to get 50+% of the votes.
And to respond to Malik's point, a difference in terms of Mississippi is it's the blackest state in the country, right? It's 38% black. Florida's about 16% black. A lot of black folk in Georgia, but not 38%, right? Yeah. And on this piece about Trump, right, is Espy, about Mississippi, right? I mean, I guess to Trump, voter suppression or lynching or wearing Confederate garb is what a real Mississippian does. I would submit that, the Mississippians of Medgar Evers, of Fannie Lou Hamer, is, what Mike Espy's about, and that is a legitimate Mississippian as well.
Well, I think what Trump is referencing, and it's unfortunate, but it's something that Republicans do a lot. Republicans have a notion that there is no such thing as a moderate or Republican a moderate or conservative Democrat.
Yeah. And Mike Espy
I'm from
very
Mississippi.
Moderate.
Mike Espy is pretty moderate to conservative. He's from the DLC, the Clinton DLC wing of the party, the Democratic leadership.
DLC.
DLC. Yeah, he's from that wing of the party. There are a lot of people who don't know Mississippi politics. Clearly, Trump does not know the history. But I think what he's doing is an extension of what the party does when we assume that no one can be conservative or moderate but us.
He's not too liberal for Mississippi. He
No,
may be
he's
too
not.
black for some in Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But he's
not
not
too
too
liberal for
liberal.
Mississippi.
The thing that is still interesting, I think, when you look at this, the reality is, this is probably the one Senate race where it is more so than Alabama, more so than Louisiana or Arkansas. This is absolutely black-white. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely black-white. It is absolutely an appeal to old Mississippi when you still have the Confederate emblem on that state flag. When you have a state that could not handle a civil rights museum by itself, where you literally have separate but equal, where they say we're going to build a civil rights museum, and then, you know what? No, we're going to have to build another museum right next to it on the history of Mississippi, because we really don't want that museum to tell the story of the history of Mississippi. And I was there, and I'm telling y'all, to walk on the grounds and to stand there, you go, okay, so we got the Civil Rights Museum right here, which is this amazing edifice, and then you go and basically hit a white folks museum.
Yep.
I mean, that's essentially.
Yep.
That was in the 21st century.
That's right. And this is the difference kind of between Alabama, right? Judge Moore's statements and what he did in terms of young women didn't necessarily help him. The problem is he was Cindy Hyde-Smith. her statements about race may actually help her with a particular part of the constituency in Mississippi.
Well,
I agree.
I don't know if it would help her any more than the support she would have now. I think what
You
the
don't
media,
think it'll help her with some white folks?
No, I think what the media has done, again, because Mississippi is the child that we can always beat up on. So whenever you have an issue,
No.
race,
Hold on, Malik. Mississippi is the child who always acts up.
Okay, well,
I
disagree with that.
Hold on. As a person, it's very simple. If a child don't act up, you ain't gonna get spanked.
Mm-hmm.
But when a child acts up, you're gonna get spanked.
But in this case, Mississippi didn't act up. Cindy Hyde made comments that she should have made. Cindy was first elected to office as a Democrat in 2000. She became I think a Republican in 2010.
Like most Dixiecrats.
So almost 20 years now. The only thing that we have from her is that she took a picture with the Confederate hat in a state that has the Confederate symbol as part of its state flag.
Right, which is
so
okay.
the idea that people in Mississippi
That's
would
the
be
only thing we got?
Hold
We
up.
don't have the segregation of school that she went to, and then she sent her daughter
In
to a
Mississippi?
segregation of school?
Yes.
She sent her daughter to
do you
school,
know the
had
number of schools in
350
Mississippi that were
kids,
previously
and one of
segregated?
them's black. The city that it's in is over 50% black. School has
Okay, but
one
we're,
black person
but we're
out
still
of
talking about
350.
Mississippi, though.
Yes.
No one in Mississippi is surprised that there was a once segregated school. No one is surprised.
No.
by that.
Hold on. But Malik, you made the point that, folks in essence are picking on Mississippi. No, the reality is Mississippi, out of all the 50 states in the union, still wants to be wedded to Jim Crow.
I disagree with that. I
Malik,
disagree
Malik,
with that.
Malik,
we
Malik.
just saw the round table with Trump last night.
Malik,
we had the
if
governor
you
of
don't
the
want to
state.
be wedded to that, Malik, you wouldn't build 2 museums.
Well, I mean,
if you don't want to be wedded to that, Malik, you wouldn't have the Confederate emblem on your state flag. And then when you had a referendum, it was passed to keep it 2-1. If you don't have that, you wouldn't have Governor Phil Bryant, a relative of the woman who lied on Emmett Till, make April Confederate.
Well, we don't know if he's related to her.
Yes, we do.
So we did find out that he's related to them. Because I know there was rumors about that, but we did find out that he was related.
Phil Bryant, Carolyn Bryant.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Okay,
All
right. All right.
I did not know that we found that out. But to your point.
And wait, I ain't done. Phil Bryant created April as Confederate History Month.
Yeah.
You talking about picking on? Hell, Mississippi says, go ahead, smack me.
Well, yeah, but you can go right over to Arlington Cemetery to see the Confederate memorial sitting there. The Confederate memorial sitting at Arlington Cemetery. We have monuments to people who not fought in the Confederacy, but people who owned slaves.
Malik.
So how far should we go to be offended by
There's a difference between
people who fought in the Confederacy?
No.
And
No,
slave
Malik.
owners?
Hold up, Malik. There's a difference between folks saying this monument was put up in 1930 or 40 or 50. That's a difference between that and Mississippi saying it's 2018, let's celebrate them. This woman right here tried to get a bill passed to honor a Confederate soldier for fighting for states' rights. She tried to get a section of the highway named after Jefferson Davis, the greatest traitor in American history. Bruh, Mississippi in 2018 is still trying to do. Did Mississippi not pass a state law forbidding people from even taking down Confederate monuments on local level?
I'm not familiar with it, but if you say they did.
No. My only point is this here. This ain't Mississippi saying, hey, man, y'all reaching back. No, this is Mississippi still living it in 2018.
But despite the Confederate flag, despite the fact that, with Mississippi's history, I'm a product of Mississippi. I grew up in the state with the Confederate flag. I grew up as a Democrat. My family are Democrats. And despite the Confederate flag, here I sit in Washington, D.C., along with Spencer, Monique, Roland, in a place that I'm not supposed to be. The Confederate flag didn't do anything. The Confederate flag did not affect me being here. It had no role in being here.
Right there. Okay, but this is the mistake I think that you make with this when you say somehow the flag didn't keep me from being here. That's just like saying, black people, I don't know why y'all keep talking about inequality of wealth. You got Oprah. No. The point is this here. You have a state that still wants to continue that line of thinking and embracing it and holding on to it. That's what we're talking about here. Donald Trump knew exactly what he was saying last night. Cindy Hyde-Smith knew exactly what she was saying. Let's not act like it was my bad. This was a slight mistake. No,
Right.
we know the game of race
I
and
don't
how
agree
it
with
is
that.
properly used.
I don't agree with that.
And it's not a dog whistle, it's like a megaphone, right? They're just being out and out blatant in terms of these symbols.
Well,
and it's not all of Mississippi.
But that's
Malik.
how we're
I mean,
playing.
there is a struggle right now. This election is about a struggle about what will Mississippi be. And what Roland is basically saying is, because she's a viable candidate, it's viable that right now that old Mississippi it could win.
But if Childress had run, this history would be the same. It doesn't matter who the person is. I mean, Mike Espy during this last election, Mike Espy got 91% of the black vote. He got 91% of the black vote. You know, I don't know where else he's getting those votes. Cindy Hyde-Smith got 4% of the black vote.
He got 40% and some change of the total vote. Obviously, the largest numbers came from President Obama in 08 and 12. He got 44%, and then he got 43%. Here, to me, is the point. Whether it's because of Dixiecrats, whether it's because of the Confederate flag, whether it's because of racism, we still have voters right now in Mississippi who are in that struggle. I agree with you, Spencer, but there are traditional Mississippi folks who are not thinking about anything to do with this flag. They are thinking about the things that Republicans have been thinking about. They're thinking about judicial nominees. They're thinking about what's going to happen with funding. They're thinking about the lies and some of the truth that they've been told about what the Senate intends to do to protect them and their interests. And that, to me, is the struggle. So right now, while the polls are still open, people in Mississippi, black folks and white folks who are bothered by racism, go vote, because we need a crossover in order for it to make sense. They were polling people, and the people were saying, we can forgive Cindy her missteps. We can say she's wrong, but we don't want a progressive or a liberal appointed to the Supreme Court. Is this not the failing that we made in thinking it was not going to make a difference between Hillary and Trump? The scream that we should have been making is the one that would have kept Kavanaugh off the bench.
Yeah, but
not the, oh my God, everybody is a racist scream.
Yeah, but that's what we
everybody
run
knows
to.
there's racism.
Yeah, but we
right.
run to
I mean,
that.
I'm not sure you know there's racism.
I do
but
know that.
Everybody else
I do
still
know
knows
that.
that
Of
there's
course I know
racism.
that.
Yeah, but you pointed to yourself like it's pointed the talented nth percent who
How
made
is
it out
that?
of Mississippi.
But how is
you
that?
said
I
even
said
though
because the
there's
Confederate flag
wait,
did not. I said because the Confederate
it's
flag
either
did
going
not
to be
affect
you
me.
talking or it's going to be me, right?
Well, we're both on the set, so we can talk.
Well, I'm gonna wait.
Okay. Well, if we're talking about the Confederacy, what I said the fact that the Confederate flag exists did not stop me from getting where I am today. That's
Okay.
a fact.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with me not seeing racism.
And what I'm saying, are you pausing or are you finished?
I'm pausing.
Okay. So in your pause, what I am saying is you being a part of the talented percentage that make it out of oppression, suppression, South, segregation, racism does not mean that it is not still a systemic problem for people who are not as fortunate as you. The fact that that Confederacy and the hate mongering and all of the little Cindys of the world and their male counterparts who have been suppressing your kinfolk from Mississippi and from all of the greater South where I'm from, that to me only says, yes, it's true. There can be a President Barack Obama. Yes, it's true. There can be a Monique, there can be a Spencer, there can be a Malik, there can be a Roland. What we're trying to do, because I'm from Howard Law School, so I believe in social engineering, is care about more than us. So when you can look at Mississippi and say there are a whole lot of Maliks that are making it out, then I could hear you.
Well, they
but
are.
you just saying
You don't know any- you don't know anybody?
The numbers show that there are more in jail than in college.
Can I tell you
the
something?
numbers show
Hold
that
on,
there
hold on,
are
hold on,
more
Malik, then
unemployed.
Spencer.
Yes.
In Mississippi.
In
But I'm saying,
Mississippi.
but you're saying that to say what?
That they're
the
not
Confederate
making it
flag
out.
did that?
Okay,
Brother.
the Confederate flag is a symbol, and I'm not going to let you play games with me like you don't understand it. The Confederate flag is a symbol of a hateful past that is being insisted upon being dragged forward by people in power in Mississippi. It may not be because of the citizens' majority in Mississippi. It is because of the power center of that state. And when you have that president you voted for, who was the first Republican you ever voted for, and I'll never understand it, but I do know it's the first one you voted for.
Right, absolutely.
When that president went down there to vote for that woman, you have to know all he was doing is screaming and bullhorning and whistling to the race baiters who will say, y'all, don't let another colored person in. I mean, he may as well have said it.
Oh, well, I mean, that's
what did he say about Gillum?
I just
what did he say about
I
Gillum?
just disagree with you.
He's not suited for it.
Malik was basically saying there's no effect, there's no problem here.
Less
Less than
But
a
that's
thousand.
not what I
Less
said.
than a thousand.
That's
But we
what
can
you guys
re-roll
do to
the tape.
conservatives.
No,
I've
no,
never
hold on
said.
just a
I did
second.
not say that it did not matter. I did not say
said
that
it
race
didn't matter for
I
you.
said-
You
I
said it
that
wasn't
race- I said the Confederate
affecting-
flag.
You said it
I said
wasn't
the Confederate
affecting
flag.
black folks
I'm the only
down
one
there.
who lived under the Confederate flag. So who should it bother? Should it bother anybody else
we
on
all-
the panel?
No,
Man,
you're
we
not
all
the only
live under
one.
this
But
Confederate
who
flag.
do you
Hold
think
on.
you're sitting here with?
You're from
I'm from
Mississippi?
Texas.
But you're from Mississippi.
Just a second.
on.
We pay our federal tax dollars,
Okay.
and your flag hangs in our Congress.
And what does
I
that
go
mean?
overseas to an embassy, a 4th of July event, and there's a Mississippi flag right there.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Independent
We
state.
live in
It
a city
means
where
I'm paying
we have
my
slave-
money.
we have
It means I'm
monuments
paying my
erected
federal
to
dollars for a
slave
Confederate
owners,
flag
slave
that comes
owners,
from your
people
state.
who
So it's
raped
not
and
just
hog-tied
people in
black
Mississippi
people
who are
to
affected.
stumps,
I'm affected as
left
well.
them to die. That's what we have here in the District of Columbia. We have monuments elected to people who raped. Who raped
and that's
my
wrong, too.
ancestors.
Now what?
It's the blackest state.
That's
But
wrong.
to say
Now
that,
what?
oh, well, look at Mississippi.
Look,
Mississippi
it's
is the
the-
problem.
it's the
We're just talking
blackest
about
state.
Mississippi right
Up
now
there.
because they're the ones with the election, Malik.
Yeah,
You've been
but-
on here enough times to know we
Yeah.
don't only talk about Mississippi.
But that's what I'm
Malik,
defending
Malik,
Mississippi
Malik,
against
Malik,
assumptions made about
Malik.
the state that I just
It's
don't
the
think are true.
blackest state.
Okay.
But less than 1,000 black males graduated from college last year
Okay.
in Mississippi. I think that's a problem. And I don't think it's a problem about black folks, or I don't think it's saying anything about black males. I think it's saying something about Mississippi.
Have you paid attention to what's happening in the District of Columbia? Do you know that in Ward 8 of D.C., I think it was less than 50% of them graduate on time?
Okay.
This is happening
So
in D.C.
that's
So it
another
happens
problem.
everywhere.
That's
it
another
happens
problem.
everywhere. It's
But
not
that doesn't
isolated.
mean that Mississippi
poor
isn't a
education,
problem.
poorly educating black boys is not a problem that's isolated to Mississippi.
I will see your District Columbia and add to it an Ohio. I'll see your Ohio and add to it Chicago.
Yeah.
Because I know Republicans love Chicago, so let me do it before you. I'll see your Chicago and we can add to it. There are problems.
Yeah.
We're talking about
I acknowledge
Mississippi,
that.
though, and there's no reason to say that there's not a construct, a social construct of colorism that is still alive and well in your home
In the
state.
country.
It's in the
your
country.
home
It's
state.
very much alive in your
We're
home
talking
state.
about colorism. That's in the country because we know
since-
Barack Obama wouldn't have been president had he married Melania Trump.
And so he says, first of all, don't even try to compare.
I mean, well, he wouldn't. We know that.
But don't even try to. See, you about to make me say something.
Right. Let's just
You about to
stay
really
on
make
track.
me say
It's
something.
not Melania's fault.
I don't think you wouldn't want me to say that. I'm just saying. You ain't, because we ain't seen Michelle Obama pose. That's all I'm saying. But they sure as hell complain about her damn arms.
Yes, I know black women
When you talk
did,
about
too.
Republicans, too. When you talk about Republicans in Mississippi and the love of the Confederacy in Jim Crow days, we can go ahead and add North Carolina to that. There is no other state that has had racist Republicans leading than North Carolina. Let me say that again. Let me tell you something. All people from Malik's home state, Ross Barnett, all those races, they are celebrating in hell with what's happening in North Carolina. Same thing, George Wallace and all them bigots in Bull Connor in Alabama, they love Republicans in North Carolina. Let me tell you how foul Republicans are in North Carolina. Okay, so they lost their supermajority on November 6th. They still control the legislature, but they no longer have a supermajority. What I mean by a supermajority is they were passing laws and didn't have to talk to the Democrats. They could override the governor. Didn't even matter. Well, they lost a supermajority. Now what these thugs are doing, they are trying to create, they want to do a special session beginning this week to force through the issue of the legislature in terms of voter suppression. Right, that's what they're trying to do. Now, this is the same law that got thrown out by the conservative Supreme Court. They then said, what the hell, we're going to put it on the ballot and pass it as a constitutional amendment. Yes, that's exactly what they did. That's what they did. Now, WSOT TV in Charlotte reports that half of the people in one county without the ID are African American. And guess how much it's going to cost to get one? $78. We call that, in the 60s, a poll tax.
Yes.
I want to bring in our next guest with Democracy North Carolina. They have been focused on this. Tomas Lopez, how you doing, Doc?
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
So, Democracy North Carolina, we've had you on before. Y'all have been doing an amazing job, along with the North Carolina NAACP, exposing the shameful things that have been happening in North Carolina by Republicans. And here's the piece. National Republicans say nothing. In fact, North Carolina for Republicans is the petri dish for voter suppression. So explain to the people this outrageous special session they're trying to ram this bill through.
Sure. So here's what folks need to know about North Carolina. This is a state that has seen over the past several years, not just when it comes to voter ID, but to a whole set of other issues that implicate our democracy, some of the worst ideas that are affecting real voters. So in 2013, the state passed a law that people here call the monster voting law, which included one of the strictest voter ID requirements in the country, reductions to early voting, the elimination of same-day registration, and the elimination of the ability for 16 and 17-year-olds to register to vote ahead of time before they turn 18. All of those things were overturned in 2016 by a U.S. Court of Appeals decision that said that the law that was in place then actually targeted African Americans with what it called almost surgical precision. So we had the law, that law was overturned, and then this year there was a constitutional amendment placed on voters' ballots that provided for a very broad idea of a voter ID law that passed by a narrower margin than was predicted originally by folks who supported it. And now we're in this session where there has been a proposal put forward, and at least the first proposal we've seen reads almost exactly like the 2016 law that was rejected.
Okay, so the constitutional amendment, did it pass or fail?
Constitutional amendment passed. But what the constitutional amendment says is that somebody has to show some form of photo ID when they go to vote. It doesn't say they have to show what was shown under the prior law that was rejected by the courts, and it actually even says that there may be exceptions. Now, we oppose this amendment. We oppose voter ID as something that discriminates against voters, keeps real eligible voters from actually being able to cast ballots, and that track record exists not just here but around the country. But that amendment passed, and now what they're trying to do is pass legislation that would implement that amendment, and what they're doing is putting effectively the old law back in place.
And so, again, this is Republicans in North Carolina. Are we talking about the law where the federal court said that was a laser-like focus on black people?
This proposal that's been put forward reads a lot like that law.
So, just for folks who are watching to understand, this is why I call out Republicans, because here's the piece. If you're doing right, you're Republican, that's fine. But this is the same thing happening in Georgia, where they had a law where they were struck down by the federal courts, and the legislature said, okay, we're going to give Brian Kemp the authority. They then passed it as a state law in Georgia, which then gave Brian Kemp the opportunity to purge voters and target voters. This is the heinous stuff that Republicans in North Carolina are doing. And Tomas, for people who also don't understand, I don't think they even realize the totality of this. How y'all have been fighting this, how Republicans have been abusing the law, raping the law, stripping authority from the governor to appoint people to commissions, how they completely just blew up the state election board take the power out of the Democratic governor's hand, how they tried to literally rape the state Supreme Court from their authority as well, because the Democrats gained a 4-3 majority on that court. These are the kind of atrocious tactics Republicans have been doing in North Carolina, and Republicans across the country have been studying what they're doing and implementing their own type of suppressive laws as well.
One of the things that we've seen in North Carolina over the past several years have been attempts to use the law, manipulate the law for partisan gain. We've seen it when it comes to the judiciary. We've seen it when it comes to the way our voting laws work, the way our Board of Elections is structured. And it even goes all the way back, if you really want to look at root causes here, that one of the things that we're fighting here in North Carolina, and it's true again in many states across the country, is really entrenched gerrymandering. So we've got some of the most distorted districts in the country. And when we talk about the things that we need to see change here at the state level, and again, in states across the country, it's the ways in which elected officials are drawing the lines to their own advantage. They're not listening to the public, and they're setting up the system at its root level to really perpetuate their own power.
So is this session taking place?
The session started just today. And one of the things that's really difficult is that we don't necessarily know what is going to happen.
So how long is this session?
Well, the session in North Carolina, the rules are quite flexible, and so the session will go as long as they say it's going. Now, as a functional matter, the new legislature comes into power January 1st, and the governor has to be given 10 days in order to veto anything. So we're looking at a window of about 4 weeks in which this legislature would have to put forward anything for it to actually stick.
Okay. Well, look, we're going to keep following this. I have been focused on North Carolina, what the Republicans have been doing there for the past several years. And also for everybody who's watching us right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope, understand this. All of these things that Republicans have been doing in North Carolina have all been the result of the election of Barack Hussein Obama as president in 2008. When they saw, and Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, when they saw, North Carolina used to have some of the lowest voter participation of any states. 2008, because of the work of repairs of the breach, as well as NAACP, North Carolina vaulted up that list. And Republicans in North Carolina said, oh, hell no, all these black folks are voting. We're about to change all of these laws. And they have been doing a systematic breakdown of the laws in North Carolina since 2008, correct or not?
North Carolina is a poster child for what we have seen across the country with states that have passed laws to make voting more difficult in lots of ways. That is through strict ID laws. That is through reductions to early voting. There used to be a time where election laws, voting access were a clearly nonpartisan issue. Our organization is nonpartisan. We're not affiliated with any political party. Now these have become deeply divisive tools by which politicians are trying to entrench their own power. That's been really troubling, and in no place has that been more troubling than here in North Carolina.
Tomas Lopez, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Malik, what's the hell up with your party?
Well, I mean, we've talked about voter suppression down there in North Carolina before. There are things, obviously, I don't agree with it. You know, I don't,
No. This goes beyond voter suppression. I mean, these are people who literally, Democrat Cooper wins. They said, okay, fine. We're going to strip the power from you to appoint folks to commissions, to boards of regents, to appoint the people on the Board of Elections. We're going to completely refigure the State Board of Elections. We're going to combine it with the Ethics Committee. Another election. Democrats get 4 out of the 7 seats on the Supreme Court. They literally tried to change the law to strip the state Supreme Court, the highest court in the state, of most of its power and give it to the court that's underneath the state Supreme Court. That's your party.
Yeah, I mean, I don't make any excuses for what they did in North Carolina. I don't have any explanation for why they did what they did. I don't condone it.
Spencer.
You know, I think that this is a problem. I think it's a problem we see, you know, Mitch McConnell in terms of holding open this seat. It's this notion of how do we use institutions to maximize our power and push it? And the question is, are Democrats going to do this, and is this just going to be a race to the bottom?
Of course. Of course they
No,
are.
no, actually, no, you're wrong.
Democrats are going to do it.
No, actually, no, you're wrong.
Okay.
No, please.
We'll see,
No,
but
no. Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. I'll wait. Where Democrats have retaliated systematically to say, oh, you're now the governor. Oh, we're now going to strip you of Board of Regents appointments. We're going to strip you of State Board of Elections. Because in North Carolina, the law was whoever became the governor, that party controlled the majority of the seats. They then stripped it. Show me where Democrats have tried to strip the power from the state Supreme Court to an appellate court underneath them.
Well,
show me.
Well, what I was speaking to with Spencer is the climate where we are, that I think that both parties, and Democrats
Really?
will definitely do it.
Okay,
that
so
both
explain
parties will try
this to
do
me.
what they can to wield as much
Oh, well,
power
in Congress?
as they can.
In Congress?
They're going
so
to
explain
do
it.
it.
So explain this to me. When the Democrats would control the United States Senate, when President Barack Obama was there, how did Senator Patrick Leahy, who was head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, how did he still honor the blue slip?
Oh, I mean,
No. But see, here's why. Thomas Farr, which we're about to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Farr, of course, who is that racist judge in North Carolina, who Trump wants to put on the federal bench.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tom Tillis and Barr, the two Republicans from North Carolina, held up the appointment of two black women to that federal bench. Okay, that court in North Carolina, where you have more than 30% of the black people in North Carolina that it covers, they would not allow even a hearing of those black women.
And they did the same thing in 2006.
No, follow me. Patrick Leahy said, our rules are, if you put a blue slip in, I will honor your blue slip. Mitch McConnell, when he got in, he said, damn the blue slip. And not only damn the blue slip of a Democrat, he told Rob Johnson in Wisconsin, damn your blue slip. So please show me where Democrats have been as devious when it comes to these federal judicial appointments as Republicans.
Well, I don't know about devious, but I do think I did read
How about shameful?
that in 2006 Democrats actually blocked Bush's appointee to that same court. The Democrats blocked Democrats blocked his appointee to the same court.
I'm asking you again.
Mitch McConnell is now saying we're going to take away your ability to block nominees, Democrats. In other words, Democrats, when you were in power, you honored Republicans' ability to block black women being appointed to the court in North Carolina, right? What Mitch McConnell has done is said, hey, we're going to take away your
ability. So Democrats
ability.
didn't change Senate rules?
Yes, Democrats changed Senate rules.
Okay.
Let me walk you through. Democrats changed Senate rules when it came to federal bench appointments because Republicans not only systematically blocked everybody. Harry Reid then said, fine, 50+1. He said, but I'm going to leave in place the rules that require 60 votes for a Supreme Court justice. It was Mitch McConnell, when he took over, who said, oh, no, damn that. We're going to do 51 even for Supreme Court. That's what happened.
So when Democrats did it, there was a good reason why they did it.
No.
No.
Here's the deal. Were Republicans allowed? How many judicial appointments, how many judicial openings were available? Remember when Donald Trump said, Obama didn't care about judicial appointments. When I became president, I had 130 open. How do you think you got 130 open? Because they were being blocked by Republicans.
Yeah, and Democrats are going to do the same thing now, though. That's my whole point. This is politics.
Okay, first of all, Democrats can't do it now. Democrats don't control the United States Senate.
But look what just happened to Kavanaugh. I mean, the idea that we exist in tribes and that parties try to undermine each other by wielding whatever power that they can. This isn't something that they're going to.
Malik, you didn't hear it. Patrick Leahy honored Republicans with the blue slip.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell said, I'm not even honoring that rule.
So Malik, hold on. With this blue slip, one U.S. senator can hold up a judicial nomination. So it's not about 50% or 60 votes, right?
One.
It's one can hold up. And so basically, when Democrats were in control, Republican members, one Republican senator would hold up these two black women in North Carolina. Okay. Now that Mitch McConnell is in power, he's saying, No, you don't have a blue slip, Democratic senator. You can't hold up our judges. We're going to change the rules.
He told Republican, you ain't holding it up. Rob Johnson of Wisconsin, Rob Johnson and Tammy Baldwin, Republican and Democrat senators in Wisconsin, both put in blue slips. Chuck Grassley, Mitch McConnell said, the hell with y'all, we gonna put this nominee through. You got federal judges, you got one woman who Trump appointed, she been out of law school 11 years. You had one dude who had never, ever even filed a brief to put on the federal bench for life. The bottom line is here. What your party is doing in North Carolina is beyond shameful. And you know what? Black Republicans as a group ain't saying jack.
Oh, well, I can't speak to what...
Saying nothing.
I can't speak to what
saying
Black Republicans doing. I'm on this show.
Hold on,
They can
okay.
come on this show
Okay, now hold on. Here's my
want to.
question. Okay, what's the organization you with?
Black Conservative Federation.
Has the Black Conservative Federation as a group denounced what Republicans are doing in North Carolina?
No.
Why not?
We haven't denounced Democrats either.
No, I'm asking, but why not?
But I'm saying, but we haven't.
But
we haven't denounced Democrats
I'll ask you
either.
a question. Do you believe what Republicans are doing in North Carolina, is that fair? Is it decent? Is it democratic?
I don't think so. I've said that every
Okay,
time I've
you
come on the
said it.
show.
So I'm asking, so as an organization, Colin Powell did it. Colin Powell called out the governor of North Carolina
but Colin
to his
Powell's
face.
not the Black Conservative Federation.
No, I know that, but I'm trying to explain to you, he did it to the governor's face. What I'm asking
That's
is,
good.
we're the Conservative Federation. Y'all black, right? Mm-hmm. If would y'all as a group lead the effort to say to the Republican Party, what is happening in North Carolina is shameful and should not happen?
Well, I can't speak to I can't just definitively say what our organization is going to do. I can say what we're focusing on, and that's criminal justice reform.
How about this? No, here's my point.
I mean,
y'all not the Republican Black, what do y'all call
Black Conservative
Y'all
Federation.
the Black Conservative Federation. Mm-hmm. Can y'all as a group actually vote on that?
Can we vote on it?
Yeah, can y'all as a group
issue a statement
can y'all as
about
a group to say we're going to issue a statement
Yeah, of course we
calling out the Republican Party of North Carolina?
Yeah, of course we could.
Okay, so how do y'all consider that?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to make any,
No,
statements here on TV.
ask you, but
I've given my comments on it.
I know you're giving your comments.
Right.
What I'm saying
but
is,
I'm not here to speak on behalf of the organization.
Okay,
on
but
that
how about this
particular
here?
issue?
Will you take it back to your group?
Sure,
and say,
they're watching now.
Okay, fine. Well, so will you take it back to your group and say, as a group, I believe that we should speak out on this and take it up?
Well, we're judicious in what we choose to speak out on, which is why we're doing now with criminal justice.
No, but I'm
reform.
asking you a question. Could this be one of the things y'all put on y'all agenda?
It could be.
Will you bring it back to them?
I will definitely mention it when I leave the show.
And you're gonna bring it back for them to consider?
They're watching the show. We can talk about whether or not it's
take it
something
back,
that
and
we
so
agree to
therefore,
do.
if they vote up or down, then you'll come back and tell us whether they voted up or down.
Well, I don't know about that.
Why not?
But I will take it back to them. I will do
Well,
that.
if you take it back to them, what y'all gonna do with it?
Well, the thing, we can focus on what's happening in North Carolina, but again, that's the Black Conservative
No, I'm
Federation.
asking about North Carolina right now.
But what we're more concerned about is working across the aisle, working with criminal justice reform.
Is that your only issue?
No, it's not. But it's one of the issues that we're really passionate
Gotcha,
about.
but what else y'all
And it's-
passionate about?
Well,
Black people?
We're passionate about black people. We're passionate about
So if
economic
y'all
development.
passionate about black,
choice.
oh good.
We're passionate about
Okay,
voting.
so
We're
how about this
passionate
here?
expanding
Y'all
the Black
passionate
conservative
about all of that, right?
movement.
Okay, well then you can take it back because your same Republican North Carolina split North Carolina A&T in half. Well, they literally say on this side of the street you belong in one district, on that side of the street you belong in another district because it's the largest HBCU in the state.
But
Does that make
just
sense?
have a big gerrymandering case.
No.
Maryland?
Let me help you again. They split the school.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
The school.
Yeah, that's a problem.
No, not the neighborhood.
The school.
They split the school.
That's a problem.
Because they don't want the entire campus of North Carolina A&T in one district.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Can y'all call that out?
I can't say that we're going to talk about that.
Can you bring that to the meeting?
But we didn't even talk about the case in Maryland.
Actually,
though.
I
We didn't
have.
talk- I said the Black
No.
Conservative
But
Federation.
I'm asking you
But
about
we
North
didn't talk
Carolina.
about-
Let me go here. And then I'm going to I'm going to take a break and go to my next story. But go ahead.
I think Georgetown over here is going to back me up. This judicial nominee issue that we're talking about in North Carolina is a criminal justice reform issue. Do you get the connection in that if you have a conservative party blocking nominees who are going to put people on the bench who are going to use the massive, I believe, unjust discretion that's available to district court judges right now, that's available on lower courts, so things like sentencing reform that you're hoping will happen, well, we don't know when that's going to happen. But until that happens, you're better off, I promise you, getting a Judge Spencer than you are some of the ones that they would try to block him to put on. So I don't know what the disconnect is where people latch onto one issue, but they don't get how the entirety of the criminal justice system is connected.
We haven't latched on to one issue. It just came up about the Black Conservative Federation. We've been following the First Step Act. We know that the things that we plan on doing as far as the community is concerned. So we're not just latching on. I mean, criminal justice is a big umbrella, and it's a lot that goes under criminal justice reform.
It would be real nice if Black Republicans was staying up for Black people.
Well, it would
I'm not done. It'd be real nice if Black Republicans was staying up for Black people to their fellow Republicans.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree with that.
No, I'm just saying, but I'd like to see it happen. All right, y'all, got to go to a break right now. We come back, more Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, y'all, back at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's talk about the issue in New Iberia, folks. 30,000 people live there. They're really from the end of an oil boom. And, there's a sheriff there, Louis Ackle, who was acquitted in 2016 of charges. He directed a squad of drug deputies in beatings, false arrests, and lies to cover it all up. Yes, mostly at Black people. At the trial, one of his deputies told a federal judge that the sheriff bragged often that he had once jumped out of a dumpster and fatally shot 3 niggers doing a sting against violent heroin dealers in New Orleans, then escaped suspicion by handing investigators a clean weapon. No shock. That's a New Iberia. All right, folks, again, so what you're dealing with here is largely Black town where people say they do not trust the cops at all. Joining us right now is Khadija Asada Rashad, a community activist who grew up in New Iberia. Khadija, when you hear these kind of stories, it's crazy, but unfortunately for small towns in Louisiana, in Texas, in Mississippi, in Alabama, this is the reality when you're Black.
Yes, sir, definitely, particularly in Iberia Parish.
And so is Ackle, is he still sheriff? Is he no longer there? What are the conditions like in New Iberia now?
The conditions are the same. He is still sheriff. At the end of this year, it would be his last term being sheriff. We have tried to recall him a couple of times. That was not successful. And as we speak right now, he's still sheriff of Iberia Parish.
And when you think about that, so when people talk about relations between police officers and communities, this is a prime example. If you're living there, you're not talking to this sheriff's office. You're not interacting with these cops because you can't trust them.
Correct. You definitely can't trust them. And the trust level is from the high up. Since indeed he was found not guilty of all the charges that was labeled up, then what does that say to those that's under him? You got to remember, for the last 10 years, Iberia Parish taxpayers had paid a total of $23,000 a month, and it came out for the last 10 years, $2.8 million. And that's not to say some still ongoing cases as we speak now.
And so what's next for you and other community activists? What are y'all doing? What help do you need?
Well, we really wish that we could actually get another recall instead of just having him with a clean slate. The clean slate let us know that if you're white with power, and he has the most highest power in existence here in the state of Louisiana, because our governor, John Bell Edwards, he could have automatically got rid of Sheriff Ackle just behind all of the corruption that has been going on from the hierarchy here in Iberia Parish.
Well, this certainly is just beyond shameful, and it explains why a lot of people, whether you talk about New Iberia or Chicago, have bad relations with police officers. Because frankly, if you can't trust law enforcement, then you, when it comes to any of this, you definitely can't trust them with your life.
Yes, and that's absolutely the truth. If you see right here, this is a picture of Michael Jones. Michael Jones was hog-tied, beaten, and killed in Iberia Parish jail. Michael Jones' family received only $61,000. $61,000. And mind you, 33% went to his attorney. And yet a dog that was killed, the owners received almost $70,000. So it just goes to show you the complete hypocrisy here. And nobody is really speaking out. When I say nobody's really speaking out, I mean those that's in power. You have representatives, you have councilmen, we have the mayor. You have all of these people that's in power that don't say jack anything, you know, and it's been going on. It's just not something that just started. You know, if you're white, you're a male in Iberia Parish, you could do just about anything.
Well, Khadijah, look, we certainly appreciate you joining us and bringing this to light as well. And so anything that there happens, give us a call, and we're glad to have you back.
Yes, and I wanted to send like a Reverend Brown, Victor White, Pastor White, Brother Jay, Sister Margie, Brother Shaheed, Brother Darrell, Sister Deborah, they and KIEE 88.3 FM. They all have been a part of us trying to bring out the dirt in our area.
All right, then. Well, Khadijah, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, speaking of corrupt cops, 3 Chicago cops went on trial today on charges they conspired to cover up a former officer, Jason Van Dyke's actions in the death of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. This, of course, this trial for former Detective David March, former Officer Joseph Walsh, and Officer Thomas Gaffney comes 2 months after Van Dyke was found guilty of second-degree murder for killing Laquan McDonald. Now, these 3 officers face charges as they tried to prevent independent investigators from learning the truth about McDonald's death. Also, keep in mind, there were several other officers who were involved in this who retired with their full benefits because they knew they were going to get busted for lying. That's what happens also in Chicago. All right, folks, let's talk about Facebook. So Mark Lucky was a longtime executive at Facebook, and he then recently left. But before he left, he dropped a memo to all Facebook employees, and it's called Facebook is Failing Its Black Employees and Its Black Users. He made the following points about black users. Black people are one of the most engaged demographics on Facebook, but their experiences are sometimes far from positive. Underrepresented groups are being systematically excluded from communication. Teams that require diverse perspectives should hire diverse people. Hiring diversity-focused employees isn't a cure-all. This is what he said for black employees. Racial discrimination at Facebook is real, and HR is often a dead end. Now, he doesn't just blast them and offer no answers. He lays out what from his perspective, many answers are. Now, Mark Lucky, I know him. He's a member of NABJ. He's a longtime journalist. He left the media industry, launched his own tech company, sold that company, went to work for Twitter, and then, of course, later went to work for Facebook as well. And, of course, this comes on top of Facebook being blasted by Color of Change for using a right-wing PR firm to attack them and also to attack George Soros as saying he somehow was only the one who was funding Color of Change. They have been calling for changes at Facebook. As a result of this, we had Rashad Robinson, the executive director of Color of Change, on the show. They have been meeting with Facebook executives, and they still be meeting with them this week as well. I want to go to our panel. I mean, this raises some issues here because this is what we're seeing. The power of media is huge. When you look at media, when you look at for centuries, newspapers, televisions, magazine, radio, now, in essence, the white supremacy that we've seen in traditional media, we now see on the digital side. I'm using white supremacy for a reason, because when you look at newsrooms today, more than half of daily newspapers wouldn't even respond to the American Society of Newspaper Editors annual diversity survey. They wouldn't even respond to it. And so you still have newsrooms being run by white men. This is a diverse America. The problem on the tech side is you see what he laid out. You look at what Facebook did. When Facebook announced their news shows, they got 20 plus news shows they're funding. None black media. None, in fact, only one has a black host, and he's actually a co-host, and it's really a white woman who's really the host of that show. So here you have them fully funding these shows, nobody black. And look, I was talking to Mark about Facebook funding our show. There was serious interest, and all of a sudden they said, "Oh, we're not going to be doing news shows." Then another part of Facebook said, "We're launching news shows." and so when he breaks down the experience of black folks on Facebook, and then you hear Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg write their books, give their TED Talks and all their speeches. Now, the proof is in the pudding. And so this has raised some serious issues. Spencer, I want to get your thoughts, again, on what he laid out.
Well, you know, if you look at it, it's really very well reasoned. It's not kind of an ideological screed. I mean, he goes into detail about various issues, and it's not just numbers. You know, the number of black folks has doubled at Facebook from maybe 2% to 4%. But he talks about this culture of inclusion, who's in the mix, who's making decisions, who's mentored, a variety of issues. So this is a problem at Facebook. It's a problem in big tech as well. Right now, Facebook is going through some big challenges in terms of Russia, in terms of Cambridge Analytica, et cetera. And I think that exacerbates these issues, especially for, you know, black folks.
And here's what's interesting. I actually tried to post his piece on my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't let me. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't let me. I've tried it 3 times already. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't let me post it.
Yeah. I mean, Big Brother is watching. I feel like I am certain of it. And look at how many times they denied basically putting these hit ads out on Soros before they had to actually admit it. But they had to admit it because the proof was out there. So what we're seeing in just a way deregularized field, and to me, that's the first thing that needs to change. There needs to be somebody holding these groups accountable, even in private industry. I mean, and I know plenty of people disagree with me, whatever. But when you have that much power, there has to be some sort of accountability.
And here's a statement that, of course, Facebook sent to us. If y'all could pull that up, please. Pull the Facebook statement. I appreciate that. Over the last few years, we've been working diligently to increase the range of perspectives among those who build our products and serve the people who use them throughout the world. The growth and representation of people from more diverse groups working in many different functions across the company is a key driver of our ability to succeed. We want to fully support all employees when there are issues reported and when there may be micro behaviors that add up. That's their only response. And look, it's just very simple. I mean, look, for me as a black media owner, the reality is this here. When you look at the power of these companies, when you look at the power of a Facebook, the power of a YouTube, those 2 companies alone garner about 70% or more of all digital dollars. Yeah. That means that everybody else got to share the other 30. Mm-hmm. Right. Everybody else. Yeah. Those 2 companies dominate that. Mm-hmm. Right. And for me, when you look at the content, so sure, Facebook has this show by Jada Pinkett Smith. All right, that's one show. Sure, the show with LeVar Bell and the Ballers, okay, that's one show. But what I'm looking at, you can say it's being selfish. Numbers don't lie. We've been kicking ass. Mm-hmm. This show, the shows they're fully funding, this show right here blows many of those shows away in terms of viewership. So 6.1 million views we had on Facebook alone in the month of October. Wow. 6.1 million. Wow. There are some shows that they are fully funding that can't even get 50,000 views in a month. Mm. We can get that in 2 airings of this show. Wow. So Malik, what he's laying out is, as a company, the question then becomes, is Facebook going to truly appeal to black folks since we over-index and provide content and pay for that we want to see?
Well, you know, I want us to be able to translate that into something. You know, we talk about racism. You know, some people will say, well, that's not racism. You know, however you want to describe it, I'm one of those. You know, I acknowledge that a problem exists. And the idea, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, well, who else has a show like Roland? I said, well, do you mean black? He said, yeah. And I said, and I got stuck for a minute. It's like, I can't really think of it.
Nobody else daily.
Yes,
Nobody. Now, it's some people who are yakking on YouTube every day. That ain't a show.
Yeah, no,
but go ahead.
This is a little different. But, you know, we need to be able to increase these sort of opportunities. Whether it's, you know, if you look at the SES profile of government officials, you know, the number of people who are black in that. If we look at black media, I went to the CBC, and it was one of the events where they honored Maxine Waters, and they were talking about the progress that, you know, some progress that's being made as far as Hollywood is concerned. You know, I'm concerned about all of this. You know, whether it's not just expanding as far as our organization, you know, I'm not just interested in expanding the black conservative movement, I'm interested in expanding opportunities for black people. Right. And for me, that is across politics, you know, and because I do believe, you know, yeah, I'm a Republican, you know, but I do believe that there is an advantage to black people being able to leverage relationships with this administration or any other Republican to get things done, because there are a lot of people out there. No, go ahead.
Does big tech need to be regulated? You're conservative, probably little government. Does big tech need to be regulated?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would say that, you know, I'm not a big techie, but from some of the reading that I've been doing, there does seem to be. And what does that look like? I don't know, but I've read an.
Yeah, I think it's gotten to the point. Yeah. Not just big tech. Look, this is a digital show. This is a show that you're able to watch digital. That's not on linear television. It's not on cable news. Same thing with the internet companies. Okay, which is why I was a supporter of net neutrality. Look, these companies are. Look, that's a utility. The reality, the internet has now become a utility. The internet is no different than that light.
Yes.
The internet is no different than that light. Because you're getting to a point now where you cannot do without it. Yeah. And so look, this thing is going to come to a head with digital media where it's going. Look, with cord cutting, what you're seeing, people are turning away from traditional. And look, these companies realize it. They're like, okay, fine, we're going to make our money over here. And and the deal is, they're pissing off, Monique and Spencer, so many Republicans and Democrats and they're getting so massive. Yeah.
Right, but the problem is, and this is where the voting in the elections matter too, because you saw when Mark Zuckerberg, when he was there for that hearing, and like those poor members of Congress were speaking just in rudimentary, like, now I know my ABCs, and he was he was out there, you know, I mean, and he didn't even have to say much because they didn't understand anything that he was saying. So in order for it to be regulated, we're going to have members of Congress taking in the information in order to educate themselves at least enough, or to take organizations, whether it's Color of Change, National Bar, your organization, who are going to put forward the legislation, because it doesn't have to all be done by them. You know, we have organizations to do that. And I agree with you. There should be coalescing here, because it's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. And I believe, Lord, I'm going to sound like Trump, on both sides. I believe that on both sides we make the mistake. Yes, there are good people on both sides. Look, and we make the mistake, Roland, of being Democrat only. You know, America and no place else. Jesus only. We do all of these onlys in our silos. And about this stuff, if people of color are going to advance, then you might know where some money is that we don't know. And I might know where some foot soldiers are that you don't know. Yeah. And it has to come together.
Yeah, and to that point, go ahead. That's and when I'm talking about the CBC, because, you know, conservatives, you know, black Republicans, we don't think we should go to CBC. I went there. I was embraced. I met some great contacts. We're getting ready to work. Our organization is getting ready to work with this organization called the Purple Isle. And the Purple Aisle, this is what they do. They go around countries and they get a lot of stakeholders together to try to focus on an issue. They just did this in Ohio, I think, and they were able to get out of that, to get some legislation on the table, and it looks like that legislation is going to be passed. These are the sort of opportunities that we can work with. I went to the Women Trump Summit, and I was sitting there at the table with these white women with big pearls on and probably plenty of money, but they were sitting at that table talking about criminal justice reform and marijuana.
Well, I'll tell you right now on this issue. First of all, Mark Lucky's post has gotten lots of media attention already, and this is simple. I fully expect, and this is where civil rights organizations should be putting the pressure on Facebook. Folks who don't know, when Reverend Jackson started his Silicon Valley initiative, okay, I just want y'all to understand this here. Even other black folks in black media didn't want to hear from him. Let me help y'all out, okay? Because, see, I was there. There were a lot of black people who were pissed off at Reverend Jackson because of Obama. They didn't want to put Reverend Jackson on his radio show. So when we launched News One Now in 2013, it was a 2-hour radio show, and then the third hour was on television. Every Tuesday, I had Reverend Jackson on my show. Every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we talked about his Silicon Valley initiative. Okay? The reason Facebook has 4% black employees, they ain't have 4% 4 years ago. It's because Reverend Jackson put the pressure on Mark Zuckerberg to hire more black people. Put the pressure on Apple, put the pressure on Intel, put the pressure on Twitter. Deborah Lee, the first African American to be on the board of directors of Twitter. That didn't happen just because. It happened because of the pressure of Reverend Jackson. Ken Chenault, former CEO of American Express, first African American on the board of Facebook. That didn't happen just because. You have seen that. The point I'm making is pressure by black folks is how we've gotten everything we've gotten in America. Tech companies are going to have to feel that pressure. The civil rights organizations should be taking this letter that Mark Lucky has posted, studying it, and going to those companies, going to Facebook and saying, okay, we need to deal with this here, but then take it beyond them as well. Because this is not the future, folks. This is the now. You keep hearing me talk about how you shape the narrative, how you control the narrative, how you own the narrative. Well, that's what technology is doing. If the Facebooks of the world are shutting out black content creators, or shutting the door, or only letting one or two in, they're shaping the narrative. They're determining what you get to watch. Now, I'm going to say this, and I've talked about it, but let me tell you what happened with us at this show. The first week we launched Roland Martin Unfiltered, we did 1.88 million views of this show our first week. 1.214 million of those views came from Facebook. The next week, we only had 900,000 on Facebook. The third week, we had about 700,000. And I said, what the hell is going on? What happened to our viewers? My digital guy, who's in Chicago, he goes, I'm no longer getting the live notification of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Y'all, he works for me. So we then start asking around. A bunch of our other followers no longer got the live notification of the show. Now, it was checked. They had it, give me live notifications. So I sent an email. Mark Lucky was one of the people I sent an email to. He sent an email back saying that they had a bug in their system for high traffic or high user accounts that they weren't getting live notifications. So what am I trying to say here? Here's what I said in the email. How are you suppressing my views? So all of a sudden, I got 1 million people who follow me on Facebook. I got 1 million people who 511,000 on Twitter. We got 234,000 subscribers on YouTube, about 130,000 on Periscope. So I had to ask the question, and I need to get my HDMI cable, so get this for me. So I didn't ask the question. I said, wait a minute, why are my people not seeing it? I look at the numbers right now during the show. I'm going to show you in a second right now. So I need you to come on. So here's the deal. I got 1 million people who follow me on Facebook. which means that I really should have more people who watch me on Facebook than any other of the social media accounts, right? That's what you would think, right? You would think that that's the case. Well, if I plug in this here right now, so let me pull it up right here. I just want to show y'all, just so I understand. And I still haven't gotten the full answer that I need to say, why are my people not getting live notifications? Here's what I think. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make me buy ads to get my own followers to watch my show when they already follow me. That makes no sense. So right now, we are live on Facebook. So if you go, so pull it up, Henry, pull up my iPad. So you will see right here that we have 467 or so people who are watching us right now on Facebook, okay? That's on Facebook, okay? Let me go here. Now I'm gonna go to YouTube. Right now on YouTube, okay? Right now on YouTube, there are 851 people watching us on YouTube. I have 234,000 subscribers on YouTube. Let me go over to Periscope. Right now on Periscope, we've got 116 people who are watching us, 112 people who are watching us on Periscope. So explain to me, I don't control the algorithm. So I need Facebook to explain to me, how are a lot of my followers no longer getting the live notification of my show? Now remember when I said how we perform? Numbers don't lie. In the month of September, we did 8.2 million total views. In October, we did 6.5 million views on Facebook, 9.8 million total minutes viewed. On YouTube, we did 6.9 million views, 62.1 million total minutes viewed. Periscope, 712,000 views, 1.49 million total views, meaning the total viewership that we had on the 3 channels in October was 14.1 million, with total minutes being 73.5 million. I'm laying all that out to you is because you can go to Facebook Watch right now and you can see some of those shows, and I guarantee you, they ain't getting close to what we do. What does that mean? That means that you want to see these type of shows. You are watching this show. You have to ask yourself, well, if you are watching this show and I haven't bought jack, it's all organic, why is it that a Facebook wouldn't call us and say, yo, y'all killing it, let's talk about a deal? That's what's happening with other companies. And that's how you control the narrative, which is why we as consumers have to say, either you give us what we want or we go elsewhere. And I'm just letting y'all know, if I don't get what I desire, then I'm no longer going to show my show on Facebook. I'm only going to show it on YouTube because YouTube has an ad revenue program with us, and it makes sense. Otherwise, Facebook, I'm giving you free content and you're giving me nothing. That, to me, folks, is why we must use our voices to speak truth to power when it comes to technology. So we're going to keep covering this story, and we'll see how Facebook responds. Folks, our HBCU Giving Day School today. Today is Giving Tuesday, hashtag Giving Tuesday. Our school today is Miles College, Fairfield, Alabama, founded in 1898. Notable graduates, Richard Harrington Jr., Fred Horn, and also UW Clemens. You want to give to Miles College, go to miles.edu, miles.edu. Also, please support Roland Martin Unfiltered by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Go to our website, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. That's how you can support our show. Because trust me, Facebook not. The rest of these people not. If you want to watch our clips, go to YouTube, because again, we make more money from YouTube than Facebook or Periscope. And it's not a good bet. Probably January 1, I will no longer be streaming our show on Facebook and Twitter. You know why? Because they don't have any ad sharing program whatsoever, and I'm not giving them free content as well. Folks, this is a business, and we want to be able to supply you with this show every single day, traveling around the country telling these stories. They can only happen when it comes to us being able to generate the money to make it happen. So go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our supporters in the year, in the first year. So I want us to hit 2,000 by December 31st. 2,000 by December 31st. And so please join. It doesn't matter what you give. give. We want you to give an average of $50 each, but if it's less than that, that's fine. We want you to support us. So by December 31st, I would love to see 1,000 new members of our Bring the Funk fan club. All right, folks, I got to go. Spencer, Monique, Malik, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Well, tomorrow we'll have the breakdown who won in Mississippi. Well, that's if all the votes are counted. And we'll have that breakdown. Oh, by the way, NAACP did file a lawsuit there. 3 people were not allowed to vote absentee because they requested the ballot. They never came. The NAACP has filed a lawsuit there in Mississippi. I got that note real late. Spencer, go ahead.
So folks in Mississippi have, about 40 more minutes to go vote if they haven't voted? Is that right?
Yep, yes, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so go vote. All right, folks, I got to go. Y'all have a great one. Holla!